Hello YouTube, welcome to another edition of the Action Comics Conservation. So what are we going to do? What we're going to do now is I am going to start the leaf casting and we're going to start the actual pulp making process. And the book is, or the cover, this is what it's going to be. I am not going to pay a lot more attention on trying to manipulate the color. I think the color is perfect based on a light aqueous bath that I performed. As we know, I'm not going to do a deacidification based on the prior upload testing the paper. It was right on mark. So this is the color that we're going to work with. And now what I want to do is I want to make the pulp. So out of all my questions that I receive in relation to what I do on YouTube, the most popular is dealing with leaf casting. I get a lot of questions about making the pulp, what I do, what's the process. So I'm going to pay particular attention to this now. So what do we want to do? I'm going to use and make a new pulp for this book, and we're going to go through it together and we're going to test it and we're going to see how it works, because I'm trying to manipulate my actual formula in order to make the paper more flexible, which I have no issue with it in the past, minus a few books, but I'm trying to make it a little bit better for this Action Comics. Okay, so we have my beaker here. The first thing that I'm going to put in the beaker is a few drops of Clorox bleach. And everyone must be saying in their mind, bleach, why am I putting bleach in? I'll show you. We're going to put a little bleach in, no measurement, just a little dropping of bleach. Then I'm going to put some water, Poland Spring, into the beaker. I'll put a whole bottle, which is 16 ounces. Then what I want to do is let's stir it up nicely. The reason why I'm putting bleach in is because the paper that I'm going to use is newsprint paper. And I'm using straight newsprint paper because that's the paper that they used to use back in the day to print the comics. This is the color of newsprint. It's looks like a grayish color, so I don't want the grayish color. I want to try to manipulate it in order to get more of a tannish color. And I was experimenting with this paper trying to manipulate the color, and I noticed that once you mix it with bleach, the color turns more of a brownish color because it's bleaching the paper. Another purpose of the bleach is that bleach is a base. And when I say base, bleach, if it's introduced into a liquid or into a paper, acts as a base on the pH scale. It's basic, and it reduces acid. So by adding the bleach, we're going to serve two goals. We're going to manipulate the color, hopefully turning it into a tannish instead of a gray. And then what we're going to do is I am deacifying the actual paper that I'm introducing in the form of a newsprint. So that is my goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to rip it up into little pieces. And before I actually blend this paper pulp, I am going to change out the bleach water and put fresh water into the beaker or into the pourer, and to remove the bleach actually in the liquid form. And I will rinse out the paper before I blend it, just to try to remove some of the bleach that may stick around after it soaks for a little while. And when I say soaking, I'm going to soak this paper, the newsprint, in the bleach water mixture, not long. I'm only going to soak it maybe for 45 minutes. And then after 45 minutes, we will strain the water, keeping the paper pieces in there. And then we'll introduce new water, flush it out, introduce new water. And then I will have my soaking newsprint, and that will be soaked in fresh water longer, and then it will go to the blender. So I'm making a lot of pulp right now because, number one, I need a lot of pulp because we're going to make a test sheet of paper with the pulp, and we're going to compare it with the Action Comics existing. And then we're going to need a lot of pulp because, as you see with that cover, as you just saw, it is definitely missing a lot of the cover. So we want to try to make enough so we are not left without enough pulp in order to do the job when we're leaf casting. So this right here is going to create a tremendous amount of pulp. So we're just going to let this soak as indicated. And then after it soaks, what I'll do is I'll flush it out as stated. And then off to the next step. So stay tuned and we'll be back shortly. Okay guys, we're back. I had the actual pulp soaking for about 3 hours. You really don't have to soak the pulp or the newsprint much, unlike the other papers I used to use in the past, which were actually more fibrous with different forms of mulberry paper. So you just want to soak it, and you want it to a point where the paper will easily break apart if pulled or manipulated. Now, in the past, what I used to do is I used to take the paper and rip it like this and try to break it up as much as possible in the beaker, but I don't do that with the newsprint, because the newsprint, like I said, it dissolves and it softens a lot better than the papers I've used in the past. So I'm liking the color. I think it would match up quite well with the Action Comics, but we don't know yet. And just to let you know, I also drained the water about 4 times and put fresh water in. I squeezed out the paper, put it back in, let it break away from a big ball of paper after squeezing it. So I'm happy with what I feel is a nice flushed out source of pulp. Now we're going to pour it in. You pour it into the blender. You want to take all your paper that you have in here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to test it. But before we test it, we have to blend it. So I pulsate, blend, chop, I do everything, and I blend it for approximately 2 minutes on and off until it is a pulpish liquid, and I'll show you what it looks like for any of you guys that want to do this at home. And I'm going to blend off camera, so just stay tuned, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do after I do it, or what I have done after I do it. So stay tuned. Okay guys, I blended it, and this is what you want the pulp to look like. I hope the camera's picking it up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna test it. We're gonna get our test sheet. So what I wanna do is I wanna put down a wee pad, which is something I know a few people laugh when I say that, Mike Tiger in particular. And I'm gonna put some more paper towels down. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put down a piece of Rame paper. And then we have my squeeze bottle that I use. So what I wanna do is let's pour a little of the pulp into the squeeze bottle. Not much, because I wanna save that for the book cover, the Action Comics, if we are successful in matching the color. And I'm only putting a little amount in the squeeze bottle because I want to keep the pulp in the blender just in case I'm not on with the color and I want to do some manipulations. This is a piece of Rame paper that is getting ready to be disposed because I use it on many occasions, but once you feel it start getting rough, that's the time that you have to change up. So what we're gonna do is we'll put some pulp just like this, and I'm gonna make a circle, or actually let's make a square, like a little mini piece of paper, and we're gonna pour it on just like this. And you see how it's taking shape, it's taking form. This is all it is, guys. This is the leaf casting. It does help you, and I do recommend that if you are going to do it, you do need a suction table that you can make, and go back in my uploads and you can see the suction tables that I did make. It's very easy if you're mechanically inclined and you'll take the time and you have the patience. And you see how I spread the pulp. I try to do it, and I'm not doing it 100% like this, but you want to do it like you're painting. And if you go back and forth and you want to just paint like you're painting a wall, and you want to try to be consistent, and that's how you're consistent with the thickness. So this is the test paper that I'm going to use with the pulp, and we're going to see if this matches up with the Action Comics. Let's finish the rest here. A little haphazardly, I'll put it down. I can see where it's a little thin in places. Now, when I'm done with that, what I'll do is I'll fold over the Rame paper, and then we'll remove the paper towels. Look at all that water that went through. That's the key right there. You want that water to go through. And then what we're gonna do now is I'll just get the moisture out, because we're not trying to make this perfect. We're just trying to make a test for the color. And if we're doing it, we might as well give it a little roll just to get the water out. There you go. Look at all the water that came out. Let's do another one. Like I'm making a pizza. There you go. Less water came out that time, so we're in good shape. We'll take this, remove that, and then what I'll do is I'll take a piece of glass, we'll put it on the piece of glass, and then I'll put a second piece of glass on top, and then I'll take this whole apparatus and we'll put it on my oil burner, and we'll let the heat penetrate up, and this will dry probably in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, where we can test it. So stay tuned, YouTube. Okay, guys, we are back, and I dried the sample of the casting, or the leaf cast, between the two pieces of glass. I also sped up the process a little bit with my heat gun, because I'm not looking for an actual perfectly smooth surface. I'm just looking for color testing. So, what is the conclusion? I am happy with the way I matched the color, because the whites on the Action Comics are not perfectly white. There's variations in color. So I think this color that I developed with bleaching the newsprint is going to look very well and very nice once I use it for the leaf casting. And it is a tiny bit brighter, but that's okay, because we are not trying with this book to make it where it's going to match perfectly with the existing paper, because the existing paper isn't perfectly the same color. So if we flip it around and we see the back of the cover versus the front of the cover, two different colors. So we're not making it perfect. We're not trying to hide anything that we're leaf casting with this, because this is going to be a pure leaf casting event. I may add a little tint to darken the pulp. I think I will. I'm going to add a tiny darkening agent to give it more of a browning, but I am happy with this and we're going to use it. So guys, what you need to do is you need to stay tuned. I'm going to end this upload, and after this upload, we're going to get the book ready for leaf casting, and it's going to be a good one because I'm doing a different procedure, and I'm going to use the Tengojo paper in addition to the leaf casting. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care.